I don't know. I don't actually know them more than themselves. So I'll give the floor to them for them to introduce themselves. Welcome to the show, Victor. Welcome to Kwadwo. Welcome everybody. So, how are you guys doing today? How are you doing, Victor?
Yeah, very fine. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, welcome to be here. How are you doing, Kwadwo?
Hi, Brown. I'm good. I'm good. How are you too?
I'm doing amazing. Well, welcome to the show. And today I'm facilitating the chat with Esther all the way from Rwanda. And it's good to have you here. But as I said, I would like you guys to introduce yourself to the people listening to us and everybody, because as I said, you know more than I know you, because you do a lot of things and you have a lot of experiences in this field. So I will start with Victor. Victor, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and actually how you ended up being an environmental person helping to create solutions and what you do, basically? Thank you.
Yeah, hi everybody. Good to be here. My name is Victor. I am an entrepreneur, chartered accountant by training. I've been an entrepreneur for the last 7 years. In my daily time, I split my time between two organizations. One is called Capture Solutions, where we digitize processes for businesses across Africa. We're in about 7 African countries, and I'm a director of the West African operation. And there's also a recycled tech startup that's spun off from it called GIVO, GIVO, where we leverage on technology to facilitate or to enable circular economies within communities. I got into this space by chance through the work I do in technology, and yeah, it's good to be here.
By chance, amazing, good to have you here. That's from Victor today. He said he got to this place by chance. You know, he's doing amazing things for the environment, but you know, it's very good to have him here. Kwadwo Gyasi, he's someone I've known for a lot of time, for a long period of time now. But as I said, you have to introduce yourself to everybody for us to know what you're doing, where you are, your background, and actually how you ended up in being an environmental specialist.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's good to see all of you. As Hagan mentioned, my name is Kwadwo Gyasi. I'm a civil engineer by profession, trained, had my undergraduate in civil engineering. And then I went on to do my master's in environmental sanitation and water supply. And then currently I'm doing an MBA at the University of Illinois. So I work with the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources as a sanitation specialist on World Bank funded projects on sanitation and the environment. I've been in the environment sector for the past 9 years, 8 to 9 years, right after school, providing sanitation solutions to low-income areas, liquid waste and water supply, designing sanitation facilities, sewage systems, treatment plants. Because we work with the ministry, we also do a lot of policies, master planning for mostly Greater Accra and then Kumasi. And we do some capacity building activities, training for the municipal and metropolitan assembly, since in Ghana, they are mandated to deal with sanitation. How I got in my interest in the environment and sanitation and all, well, after my civil engineering degree, I became a TA. Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Yes, it's
okay,
clear.
Good. So yeah. After my and Hagan is my good friend. We went to the same primary school and then also first degree in civil engineering. I was chosen to become a TA and for the water and the environment department in KN University. I actually wasn't that interested because I wanted to do structural engineering and highways and all that. But they offered me TA-ship in the environment, water, and the sanitation, and I took it. And that changed my perception. It introduced me into the environmental sanitation sector, and I really got interested in that, and I've been in that sector since, way back from 2012.
Great.
Brown, you're muted.
Sorry, that's a very interesting thing to hear from Kwadwo. I mean, he's been in this field for a while. He's been doing a lot, as I know. Actually, I've been seeing what he's been doing, and it's also very nice to talk to an old friend who is in the same field as mine, so we could share ideas and stuff. I will actually put this to Victor. Since Victor, it's in the, so your company does a lot of like a recycling collection of materials in parts of Nigeria. You spearhead all these kind of collection points, and then you put these materials into panels and so can you tell us about that? Because as we know, I think most kind of environmental or plastic solutions are just over the disposal phase. How do you think this is effective? And do you think we need a lot of strategies to control these kind of things?
Thanks for that. I think the concept of the circular economy is something that is relatively new. It's not necessarily something that is taught in schools, even in Africa right now. And so from us, from a technology and from a business point of view, because like I mentioned before, I am a chartered accountant by training, and finance and accounting are the things I do really well. It was really around finding value in that commodity, value in that space, to create, to have a ripple effect in communities. So yes, from inception, we didn't come at this space in a traditional way. Like I mentioned before, I also have a background in technology. That's what my other companies do. And so it was really about trying to maximize value from this resource that everybody throws away. So yes, for us, we really focus on the circularity. Circularity being the watchword on everything we do. So that also means that when we are collecting materials, for example, we're also trying to see what the carbon footprint for that is, and measuring such those things, for example, because you do realize that, for example, the data collected through the process is more important than the materials themselves. So in instance, I don't know, a kilogram of a ton of material, can probably sell for, I don't know, $100 once it's aggregated. But in terms of carbon credits, that has a different value from that same transaction in terms of plastic credits. So for us, it's not just about the materials themselves. It's about how do you maximize value from a data point of view? How do you maximize value from an output point of view? So that's really our, that's the way we see this space, and we'll continue to attack this space.
That's great. Amazing.
Okay, now I think I'm gonna ask the next question, and it goes to both of you, the guests, and it's related to the theme of the day or the day that we're celebrating, which is banning the plastic bags. So the question goes like, well, we all know that in some countries they have implemented policies, environmental policies in a sense, like the ban of plastic, of single-use plastic bags or EPR schemes. So I just wanted to ask if, in your point of views, are these kind of policies efficient? And if yes, could they be replicated in other countries? and what are the challenges that may arise? Yeah, I think Mr. Gyasi could go first. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. So, currently in Ghana, and I'm going to talk about Ghana. We don't have such a policy in place. The discussion, but it has come up previously about 2 or 3 years ago. It came up. There was a serious debate, and the reason that we couldn't implement is that there was a tax levied on plastic producers, right? So so they were being taxed directly, and so they felt that if you are paying this tax, it was a plastic levy fund or something like that. If you are taking this amount from us, then why do you want to also ban single-use plastics? So it became a challenge for us. And I think the lesson there is that we need to look at our policies well. We need to look at our plastic policies and what shape those plastic policies. If any country wants to implement this type of policy of banning single-use plastics, then there has to be a dialogue. I think it's a good idea. I think it's one of the good ideas we can implement. There are a number of them, but usually the challenge is that we don't dialogue enough on these policies. You don't engage academia, you don't engage private sector, you don't engage the citizens, you don't engage, bodies that are involved in this, and it ends up becoming a political decision. And when that happens, then it fails. Then there's a lot of backlash from the people. The private sector is not happy. Everybody's not happy. So I think that it's a good idea. Some countries have implemented it, but there has to be dialogue on the policy. There has to be a lot of dialogue on the policy. And also, maybe not just that, we should also, currently in my country, when you buy anything, they give you a plastic bag. So when you go to ShopRite, when you go to anything that you buy, they'll give you a ShopRite. But in other, they'll give you a polythene bag, single-use plastic. Yes, but in other countries, you pay for it. You get it, you pay for it, you have to pay for it. So we can start from there, so that that would discourage people from, going out and just sticking these bags, but you carry your bags along. And then as time goes on, we educate people on some of these issues. And then we have a dialogue, as a national dialogue, on the banning of single-use plastics. Because if you look at the value chain, it creates employment for a lot of people. Now, if you're going to ban this, what are you putting in place? What is the replacement? So for the woman who sells wache, our favorite wache, who puts it in these plastics, you are going to tell the person, you are going to ban this. What is the alternative? So we need to think along the whole value chain, think along this decision, and then come up with alternatives if you are going to ban it, and then have the policy being accepted, and then we can do that. Other than that, it would always backfire and fail.
Oh, great. Victor, what's your take on that? Since you are into this sustainability, circular economy thing, what's your take on the strategies as Esther asked? What's your take on this?
Well, I don't, I guess I have a different view. Well, I don't know how different it is, but I don't think these products can be banned, right? I have been privileged enough to travel around the African countries, and with the exception of maybe Rwanda and to an extent maybe Kenya more recently, it's everywhere, right? And it's also a unit economics thing. So I come back to the numbers, right? Africa is a poor place. There is once you, like he gave the instance of wache, and they make wache and they put it in a nylon bag, right? How much is the bag in terms of container? That is a almost non-existent cost. Now, when you want to replace that with something else that is more expensive, who has the money to pay for that? So this is a very it's not even it's not a sustainability conversation, it's a unit economics conversation, right? And based on that, it's not going to change anytime soon. In fact, statistics have it that the number of plastic producing companies are rising rapidly all across Africa. So again, I mean, there was a point where a lot of these bags used to be imported. Now they're made locally. So yeah, I think for me, this whole idea of banning the materials is just very reactionary, right? Like, I mean, it's not really taking into consideration the realities on ground. And having said that, I think the more important thing is really around managing the waste. So again, creating the infrastructure, right? Managing the materials, creating the infrastructure to recover and to process. So like, the other speaker mentioned, the idea behind EPR, external producer responsibilities in different countries, and like that tax that they were taxing to the people in Ghana, that money is supposed to be used to create infrastructure to collect the material, right? So what? Yeah.
So you believe that we can actually find a way to include the single-use plastic in our economy, in our system, so that it can be catered for. That is what you believe, right?
Yeah,
like it should be like infrastructure.
I mean, again, I'll say I believe it, right? But that makes it sound like a far-fetched thing. That's what is done all across the world, right? So it's not all across the world they still use bags, right? I'm in Europe right now, and there's bags everywhere. The only difference is that they charge you for the bag, right? And that charge goes towards an EPR scheme to collect, right? So it's just common sense, right? So, why are we trying to reinvent the wheel? Are we the first people in the world? Like, everybody uses the bag. It's about managing the resource. And going back to it, even those bags have uses, right? I mean, first of all, those bags are fuel, right? Plastic is fuel, right? The way the price of fuel is increasing right now, those bags are valuable fuel. So there's so many uses for them after the first use that again, changing to fuel, using it to make other products like we do, and so on and so forth. So again, I keep on listening. The point is, I think it's a bit too rich to say banning plastic bags. I mean, come on, what's the alternative? The focus needs to be on creating the infrastructure.
Yeah. I really understand the point that you're making. To me, as I have been saying this a lot of times, people are saying climate change is real. We've been feeling the heat waves, the precipitation patterns have been changed. We have carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. A lot of things are changing, and people are arguing that we should abruptly stop fossil fuels. Yes, I agree. But the thing is, we stop fossil fuels right now. A lot of cars in the world run on fossil fuels. It means that people have to go to work, people have to do things, but you should find a way to phase it out. So I remember the convention in Glasgow, they said the climate change is real, but another way of solving climate change is to have to adapt to climate change to solve it. So we adapt it so that we can live with the climate change since it's here now, and then ongoing, we can actually solve the problem. So the same way, I think as you are saying, we could find a way to adapt to the single-use plastic in our system, and then we phase it out. Because if we stop it abruptly, as the wachi seller or the jollof person, we'll find it difficult to have some money to pay. So I know in some countries, they have put in some measures to help these kind of strategies and policies. But I think it's a challenging situation, as you said, because sustainability is not just about economy, it's not just about the environment, it's also about social life. You can't actually just stop people's work from going on. So what Kwadwo is saying and what you are saying is dialogue. We have to infuse into the system. So I think it's something that will be amazing to see this in the next few years, the next time we talk about plastic things. So having said that,
and Hagan, if I can add something small to that, like I said, that these things, like you said, it's almost impossible to do, right? But the point I was making and from the very beginning is that it's dialogue. Anything that a country wants to do should come from the people and not just even experts or governments, right? So that is why, as a nation, I believe that if a country decides that we want to do it, they will be able to do it. But usually the problem we have, and I work with government, so I know, the problem we have is that decision making is made at the top. Now, when that happens, that becomes a problem. So, and like I said, it's one of the solutions, but it's a very difficult one. And when this discussion came up in Ghana, it was right away pushed aside. But if a country, the way Rwanda and Kenya, I was in Kenya 3 or 4 years ago, and I'd heard that they had started this, but then I went out to buy something and then they gave me, it came in a polythene bag, you know. So I agree with Victor, it's very difficult, almost impossible, but what do? If we have a fund, and I think that is where the difficult aspect is. If you have governments that are not that committed to addressing some of these things, then what do? So I believe that it's the collective action. Once the people agree to do it, I think it can be done. But yes, it will take a number of years, you know, it will take a number of years. Even for fossil fuels, the same thing. It's going to take a number of years, but eventually we should get there.
Yes, thank you a lot for your views. It actually gave me a lot of things to think about. And yeah, thank you again. So moving on to the next question, again, it's related to the theme of the day. So it also goes to both of you. So I just want to ask, what are some of the basic things a person can do to help the plastic bag-free day as we are celebrating today? I think if Victor is still available, he can start.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, like I said, it's or similar to what I said. It's really around creating the right channels to enable the processing or the recovery of these materials, right? So I think for everybody, it's just around recycling individually, not littering. Yeah, and actually making sure your materials don't end up in the landfill. I mean, I think that's easier said than done, right? But yeah, just try not to litter and give your materials to the people that would recycle it. Yeah, and then you pray about it, I guess. But yeah.
Wow. Yes, I think I'll try to pray about how we can solve this, because actually we're talking about these plastics. I live in a country where the government made a lot of policy strategies to talk about plastic pollution. I live in China. And then when I order things from online, there used to be a shop where I order things from. It comes in, like one item is being wrapped in plastic bags on plastic bag on plastic bag. China production, they do a lot of production here. They have all these kind of technologies and materials to do these things. So they do them in a large quantity. So you get this for free. Even if you buy a single thing on the street, they give it to you. So I remember some of these online shops started to go sustainably. So there's this new plastic, I wouldn't say plastic, it's a new packaging that I've seen. It's a biodegradable packaging. It's much more like, even though they give a lot, sometimes I feel like it's too much. I buy this, I think it's too much. I have packed them, they're still in my house. But I think they have changed from plastic to biodegradable packaging, which is a good way, but still producing a lot of biodegradable thing, and you still use energy and all these things. But I think, as I said, bit by bit, we will people can do something to change into a direction. Like for me, when I go out to buy something, I take my bag, like a small carrier bag, to the market to shop if I don't buy online, because there's a market close to my house. So, I mean, these are some simple things each other can do to help create a kind of less plastic planet. Because as Kwadwo said, when it comes to government, we are waiting for the government or waiting for some huge institution to do this. It has to go through a long processes. And, you know, as you said, politically motivated decisions. It's not something that helps us all. So we have to be in a way to help us produce a less plastic planet. So it's good. This one, I'll put you to Kwadwo, since Kwadwo is actually a sanitation expert who works with the ministry in Ghana. I know Ghana, I'm from Ghana, so I know Ghana, we have this problem when it comes to flooding a lot of times. And I know most of it will be caused by having all these single-use plastics in our drainage systems and all these things. And it's so appalling to see videos from Ghana when it rains in rainy season, like June, July, and August. It's so appalling. So Kwadwo, in your view, what is the government doing to solve these issues, and how do you think we can solve this? Because, as I said, each and everybody can do something to help rectify this situation. What do you think people can do, and what do you think the government, and what is the government doing, or what your organization, your people are doing, and how are you doing it? You can let the people know a little bit for us.
Okay, all right, Brown, thank you very much. First of all, I'd just like to just give a slight background. So there are 3 ministries involved, right? In environment, sanitation, drainage, flooding, all the issues. There is the Ministry of Works and Housing, and it just also goes to show the challenge that we have. Is that there's a Ministry of Works and Housing responsible for urban drainage generally, constructing drains, culverts, you know. And then there's Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, sanitation, liquid waste, solid waste, our rivers, water resource. And then there's Ministry of Environment, responsible for the general environment. They are mainly responsible for plastic drain constructed by the Ministry of Water, right? In the drain. But then you have, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You were a little bit, yeah. I can hear you now. You were a little bit breaking. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So you have a drain constructed by one ministry, Ministry of Works and Housing. Then you have solid waste and plastics, which are supposed to be managed by the Ministry of, solid waste, which is supposed to be managed by the Ministry of Sanitation in that drain. And then you have plastics, which is supposed to be managed by Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Environment, also in that drain. What do you do? Who takes responsibility for that? So that, I would say that one, there's an institutional challenge.
Hello?
In terms of who is, so because of that, hello, Brown?
Yeah,
am
I
I
breaking?
I can hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, you were breaking a little bit.
Internet is not helping. There's always the challenge
I think dreaming. Yes, great. You can go on. It's great. I can hear you now.
Okay.
I think it's better. It's better. Yeah.
So you have drains. Okay, great. So you have drains with solid waste and liquid waste in there, and then plastics as well. Now, to address this, you need an integrated solution in there, because no matter what you do, if you design the best drains, if you provide solid waste receptacles in every house, and people still prefer, or people have developed this habit of putting solid waste into drains, you're not going to achieve anything. So the first point is behavior change. There's a lot of education and sensitization around this habit, because it has become more or less a habit among certain people that I keep a lot of waste in my compound. When the rains come, I pour it into a drain and then it moves away. But then there's a other challenge of collection of solid waste as well. And solid waste here, I'm including plastics, right? Our collection systems are not the best, I must admit. So you have a lot of plastics. You still can't hear me.
I can hear you.
Yeah, so you have a lot of plastics. You have a lot of plastics ending up in the drains, especially in Accra, and then they enter the sea. So what currently we are doing is we've developed an integrated urban environmental sanitation master plan, because we realize that you can't just solve the issue of flooding from just concentrating on Ministry of Works and Housing and building bigger drains. You have to also consider the solid waste aspect and the liquid waste aspect. How do you capture these materials? How do you prevent them from going into the drain? So we have this master plan that we've developed and we've started implementation. But the key aspect of it is the behavior change. People must change their attitudes. In addition to building the drains, providing all the necessary resources. But plastic waste, the question is, there's this document which we've developed called let me just refer to it, the Ghana Multi-Stakeholder Action Plan, right? And it was just launched in 2021, which is looking at how to reduce our plastic waste. Because if we are only collecting 26%, we are collecting just about 26% of our plastic waste, where is the remaining going to? You get it? So it's also important that we address our plastic, because if there's, where is it going? 26% is, and this is handled by, we have small scale recyclers and all that, but the remaining just goes into the environment. So they find themselves in the drains.
Okay.
And when the rains come, there's flooding and they're
great.
So currently, we, as a government, we don't have recycling plants, but we have solid waste recycling facilities. I believe we need, as a matter of urgency, we need a plastic recycling program in Ghana to be able to capture all these plastics that are the plastic that ends up in the drains.
Great. It's good that you actually put all the governments together and telling us a lot about what the government is doing, helping to solve the plastic pollution in Ghana, as it's affecting the lives of people, the drains and everything. And I guess Victor is taking some notes from Ghana, since Kwadwo is giving him all the information that he needs when it comes to plastic things. But Victor, before, I know that you don't have much time to spare with us, but before you go, I would want you to give us something. What would be your words for plastic pollution? How can it be controlled? How do you think the world, the people, the whole society, the community can be added in solving our problems? What do you have to say on in few words? What do you have to say, and how do you think we can put this in a very good circular economy to improve the lives of the ladies, the marginalized communities around the societies?
Yeah, thanks for that. Well, first of all, I guess let me speak a little bit about the government work, because I think I agree with most of what Kwadwo said. For us, we're privileged to be working with the federal government. The other thing, let me just rewind and say is, waste management is very local. Like you can't be doing waste management and not be interacting with government. Like it just doesn't happen. Like government is your most critical stakeholder. At the same time, I think statistics have said that 20% for governments in Africa to have effective waste management, they need to commit about 20% of their budget on waste management infrastructure, right? Which is almost impossible, considering we're still talking about child death and what do you call it, food shortages and insecurity. Nobody has 20% spent on waste management, and so what that actually provides is an opportunity for corporates, right, and organizations such as myself to play a role because the governments cannot, I repeat, cannot afford to create whatever system that they want to do to help this industry. The other part I would say is yes, in fact, this is one of the major things we do. We have an NGO, also set up for this, but mindset change is actually the biggest thing. So yes, in our processes, one of the core things we do is advocacy and education. But without change in mindset, it's almost impossible, right, to have a long-term solution for this. And thirdly, even linked to change in mindset, more importantly, and I guess maybe some governments haven't quite figured it out, is incentivizing behavior, right? You can't have change in mindset without having incentivizing behavior, right? And so these are places where governments cannot and do not have the resources to be able to do this on a large enough scale, which is where, again, I keep saying that there's an opportunity for people in this space. Now, I haven't said that one of the things that we're doing with GIVO, especially GIVO as a collector, is solving this exact problem. In different communities where we're present, we're present in 2 states now, in Lagos and Abuja. And in different communities, we have these modular centers set up, where within a 2-kilometer radius, we educate, advocate, provide free collection services, and provide incentives for our customers to recycle. So the incentives we give right now are about 300% of what the market rate of the product is. Again, these are deliberate things because, again, for you to have change, you have to have an incentive enough that encourages change. And the other thing, apart having the incentive, you also have to incentivize people by providing free pickup services so that's convenient, right? And so there's a whole lot of different things that has to be considered in this. And I think through our solution, we're already providing that to over 10,000 families, and we intend to scale across Africa, pretty soon. In about 5 years, we intend to have 1,000 of these across sub-Saharan Africa. And yes, the idea for this is really creating an infrastructure to aggregate, process, identify recyclables, so that within that 2-kilometer radius, again, we educate, advocate, provide about $10,000 worth of incentives every year, create about 10 to 15 jobs, process about 90 metric tons, and save about 2,000 metric tons worth of CO2, which of course has a value, right? So yeah, I think that's the answer to that question.
Yeah. I mean, you said a lot about a whole lot of things a lot of people have to know. But I have one question. It looks like all these things that you're saying, you and your team are working hard enough to let this be reality to help improve the waste management in the environment. What I'm asking is, the whole government or the whole system very conducive for other people to also do something to do plastic bottle recycling or plastic material or single-use plastic recycling? Is the whole system conducive? Is it like a very enticing for people to venture? And what are some of the problems, some of the difficulties, the challenges in this, before you go? Just like a follow-up question.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I think I don't think anything in Africa is easy. Again, I guess I'm privileged enough to work in different countries. So it's not a Nigerian thing, it's not a Ghanaian thing. I mean, I don't know if Rwanda counts as Africa, but for the rest of us, it's difficult to do things. I would say that's first of all on one side. Nothing is easy. On the other side, like I mentioned before, waste management is very local, right? And it's a local activity, and there's a lot of politics in there, right? No matter where you are, waste management and politics are like brothers. So there's a lot of things that you have to kind of manage in there. But I think, like I mentioned, I mean, for me, I like to focus more on the opportunities, right? Because I know that if everything was easy, then everybody will be doing it, right? So there's a reason it's difficult, and that it provides its own opportunities. And for me, one of the biggest opportunities I found, and this is why I'm actually in this space, is actually the use of data. So like again, government of Ghana, any serious government, I mean, you can't really start anything without the use of data, right? Baseline studies, for example, so that when you're doing your education and advocacy, you can begin to again see where you've gone to and see the difference and see your progress. So yeah, I would say that for us, of course, first of all, this is not easy. It's not an easy task in waste management. I mean, I would tell people to think twice before you enter the space. For us, we've been in this space for about 3 years. And we started from technology development because that is our forte. And again, we moved into manufacturing and then now into collections since the start of the year. But one of the things we're also trying to do through our solution is enable people, young people, youth and women especially, to enable them have small waste management recycling jobs in the communities. So the GIVO centers that we're setting up are actually being led by women and youth in communities. And the eventual goal is to franchise them out to women and youth in those communities, right? Each of those centers generates about $50,000 a year in revenue. And the cost of those centers is about $25,000. So that is salaries and other expenses. So yes, the idea, one of the things we're doing also through this solution is to create for lack of a better word, a mini business, a small business in different communities where people that are passionate about recycling, youth and women, can have their own businesses to aggregate, recycle, make money, create jobs in their communities, and really create that infrastructure. Like I go back to it again, the infrastructure is the most important bit. There was a report that was released sometime earlier this year by Google and Afrima, and it was not necessarily focused on Africa. It was a worldwide problem. The infrastructure is non-existent to enable circularity, right? So things around bottle-to-bottle manufacturing, all of those are secondary, right? If you don't have the infrastructure, what is the bottle-to-bottle manufacturing, right? So exactly. That is for us the biggest thing we're trying to solve. And when you solve that problem, then everything else is a bit easier. The data to understand the baseline studies and what is going on in the community, right? The carbon credit, the EPR, by identifying the materials that are passing through each sensor using computer vision. So for us, we're focusing on, again, we're a technology company, we have created the ecosystem to enable this, and we're focused on, again, creating that infrastructure and duplicating the infrastructure in different communities across Africa to enable circularity.
Great. So I guess everybody, just a reminder, we are talking about International Plastic Bag Free Day. ECU talks about Economist Solutions, and we had Victor here, but Victor had some things to do, so he's actually leaving that. So I decided to give him his last words. And obviously, I know a lot of people will be checking his LinkedIn profile and his company to see what they are doing, to see if you can collaborate or do something and talk and learn more about plastic and other circular economy technologies. So it was good having you here, and I hope to catch you next time. And still, I'll stay in touch, and we'll see what we can do to serve the world. So that's bye from us here. Victor, it was good having you.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Thank you.
Okay. And now we are remaining with Mr. Kwadwo. I think I should also give him his last question. as we were saying, we're hoping for a better world, a better planet. And we also mentioned some of the solutions, some of the strategies that we can use to actually solve plastic pollution in a sense. So, so what do you think? What are the benefits to the society, the economy, as well as the environment, if plastic production and pollution was actually regulated? How do you picture the world will be like if we used all these strategies that we just talked about?
All right, thank you very much. So I think, can you hear me? Am I good?
Yes,
okay.
Perfectly. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So I think plastic pollution causes a lot of problems for the environment. In Ghana, there's a lot of burning of plastics, and we know the harmful effects of that. Toxins are released and all that. In fact, if you go to a famous place in Ghana called Agbogbloshie, it's one of the most polluted places in the world because of burning of plastics and metals and all that. And so we need to move away from such practices. Plastics in our water bodies, our rivers, are harmful to aquatic animals and all that. And so, yes, plastic pollution is a big challenge that we have to deal with. And personally, I think we have to address the entire value chain of the plastic. So from the production to the end user, there have to be regulations along the entire value chain of plastic. So the people who produce the plastics should have some responsibilities. They should be regulated moving forward. We shouldn't allow any form of plastic to be produced. So in Ghana, for example, the plastic bottle water, right? Now they've introduced, they are using a new form of plastic where you twist it. So after using it, you twist the bottle because it makes it easier to recycle. Before that, you couldn't twist those bottles, and then it's difficult to recycle. So so for manufacturers, they should use better plastics or environmentally friendly plastics. And then down the user end, there should be strategies in place for at least separating the plastics from the solid waste, because that's also another challenge. If we put everything together, then how do you separate the plastics? When it gets to a sorting plant, how do you separate the plastics from the biodegradable ones? So at the household level too, we should consider segregation of waste, and incentives for segregating, especially in our parts of the world. And to do this, we need a lot of user education. Households should be educated on the importance of separating their waste, and also reduce our plastic footprint. As Brown mentioned earlier, when you're going out to buy something, you can carry along your bag, You don't need to go and then they give you plastics every Saturday or Friday. You go shopping and then you are given these polythene bags. You dump them in the refuse dump together with all your leftover food and everything. That won't help us. So we need to reduce our plastic footprint as well. And all this government has a big role to play in regulating, in providing the user education, and also, collaborating with the private sector, providing them incentives for them to also engage in such activities. Currently, we don't have any big plastic recycling company. They are all small startups, small enterprises who are dealing with this with no support from the government. So government should also provide some support in that regard, implement our master plan, and provide some downstream recycling facilities as well. This could be a PPP form of arrangement to get a plastic recycling plant. And when we do this and we are able to capture plastics from our environment, then again, they won't end up in our drains. They won't end up blocking our sewers, because even with our liquid waste treatment facilities, one of the problems you have is that you have a lot of plastics coming in, and it's very expensive separating that from the liquid waste and all that. So there's a lot that has to be done, but I envisage a future where there's minimal plastic usage. You know, we can't completely do away with it, but it's minimal, and there are proper measures in place along the sanitation value chain, among the plastic value chain for management of plastics. And I believe we can do this. Ghana, we have a target of year 2040, and it's in our policy, the National Plastic Management Policy Plan. By year 2040, we should have 100% plastic removal from the environment. So this is what we are aiming for. It's in our policy. We just have to implement it and learn our lessons, and then move forward with that. Thank you.
That was a lot of information given there, with a lot of policies, a lot of things from the government, and a lot of things going on. Kwadwo, thank you very much for being here today. I mean, and also Victor is not here, but I thank him also for being here. We had a very long discussion about plastic and trying to create a plastic-free planet. The question is, can we create a plastic-free planet? That is the question I keep on asking myself, because hearing experts from the government, experts in the field, the sanitation expert, and also a circular economy person using technology to treat plastic in the environment. I mean, find a ways to include plastics in a circular economy. It's not easy, and then I've seen that there's a lot of things to be done, and also you guys are doing well, saving our planet and saving our world. And as I said earlier, this is ECU, this is Amet Environmental Chat Unfiltered, where we discuss environmental issues, environmental things on a World Environmental Days. So this will be going on for a while, and each and everybody here, you can tune into the next available sections during these environmental holidays. And here, this is Hagan Brown Emmanuel. I am with the Economist team. I work in the Economist innovation team, and this is my colleague, I would say Esther. Esther is from the Afisha project. She's a very lovely, very hardworking lady. It's a pleasure to work with her. So on behalf of Economist Solutions, I will say we will end here, and then we will catch you guys in the next session of the ECU. That is it, and bye from here. Bye-bye. I hope you have a nice week, and then if any questions or anything, Kwadwo Gyasi is there. You can track him on LinkedIn and ask him questions that you want to ask him. And you can also ask Victor about GIVO and everything associated with plastic, so you can track them and worry them with your questions. They will answer you. If you want anything from the government, you contact Kwadwo. Just jokes. So bye everybody.
All right.
Bye.